Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you could please take a seat, state and spell your first and last name.
My name is Katrina Ostapovich. That is Katrina. Last name Ostapovicz.
And if you could adjust that microphone to make sure, and maybe scoot up a little bit, just to make sure that when you're speaking into the mic so everyone can hear you. Good afternoon. Where do you work?
I work at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, or GBI, crime lab.
What are your duties and responsibilities there?
I am a forensic serologist, so I test evidence that comes in to the forensic biology department for the presence of bodily fluids, semen, saliva, and blood.
How long have you worked there?
A little over 3 years.
Tell us about your duty or your education and your training that qualifies you for your job.
I have a master's in biomedical forensic science from Boston University. I also underwent approximately 6 months of training at the GBI, which included mock casework and written and oral exams. And
what, in general terms, I think you've already told us, but as a serologist, how do you look for the presence of blood, semen, and saliva?
I perform testing. The majority of it is what's called chemical color change tests, or essentially I add different chemicals to small sections of a sample or a stain item, and if there is a color change, it's considered a positive result. If there is no color change, it's considered a negative result.
How many items have you had the opportunity to test in your time at the GBI for the presence of blood, semen, and saliva?
I'm not sure, hundreds at this point.
And in doing your test at the GBI, are you familiar with your policies and procedures?
Yes, I am.
And do you all have policies and procedures about how you're supposed to perform your job?
Yes.
And did you follow those in conducting your test in this case?
Yes, I did.
Have you previously been qualified before as an expert in the field of forensic serology?
Yes, I have.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would tender Ms. Ostapovich as an expert in the field of forensic serology.
Any objection? No objection, Judge. The witness will be allowed to testify in the area of forensic serology.
Ms. Ostapovich, I want to direct your attention to your unique case number 2024-100-5107. Is that the case that is associated with Laken Riley?
Yes, it is.
And did you conduct some testing on items in her case to determine the presence, if there is blood, semen, or saliva present?
Yes, I did.
We're going to go item by item, but not necessarily in the order in which you tested it. So if you need to refer to your notes or your report, please let me know.
Okay.
First of all, though, I want to talk to you about your item number 2 at the GBI. What is your item number 2 at the GBI?
Can I look at my report?
Sure.
My item number 2 at the GBI is a sealed package containing 3 black gloves.
And those 3 black gloves, did you test those 3 black gloves?
Yes.
Okay. And prior to conducting tests on those 3 black gloves, did you photograph them?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 291, 292, and 293, and I ask that you recognize, if you recognize those, to start there.
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize 291 to 293? What are they?
They are photographs that I took of some of the gloves that were in item.
Thank you. And do they fairly and accurately depict the gloves as you observed them, and on what day did you take these photos?
I took these photos on February 23rd, 2024, and yes, they show what I saw when I opened.
So they would move to admit 291 through 293.
Judge, I'll let Ms. Ross just go ahead with the rest of them. I take a look at these. I'm not.
Those are the only photos. But I'll show her the actual item while we're looking at those. But we got to wait for a ruling on the admission of them first.
No objection.
291, 292, 293 are admitted.
And may I publish, Your Honor, and could you put the Elmo up?
Yes.
Starting first with states 291. First of all, where were you when these photographs were taken?
This was at my workbench in the serology lab.
Okay, so you're at the crime lab?
Yes.
Did you observe any damage to these gloves?
Yes, I did.
What damage did you observe, and can you see it in the photograph 291? And if you can, if you could use a pointer, there should be a pointer next to you. Show us with the pointer. Go ahead.
Can I stand?
Yes, you may, so long as you keep your voice up.
Okay.
And if you could, just make sure you keep your voice up so Madam Court Reporter can hear you, but she's turning, I think, so she can hear you. Okay.
Okay. So there was quite a bit of damage on these gloves. The most notable was there a large tear or rub mark, I suppose, right here in between the thumb and the forefinger.
And was there holes in the thumb area of the gloves?
Yes.
Okay. Can you show those to us?
So yeah, you can see it right around here.
Okay, and you're circling the thumb area of the glove on 291 for the record.
Yes.
Was there more than one hole in these gloves?
As far as I recall, yes.
States 292. What are we looking at there?
So yes, this here you can see there's a hole here, which is down.
I hate to stop you, but I can tell Madam Court Reporter is having a hard time hearing you, so keep your voice up. Okay, you're good. All right, there's a hole at the bottom. You were pointing to the bottom of 292.
Yes, so there's a hole around like the wrist area in here, and then there's a hole up in the finger area up here as well.
States 293. What are we looking at there?
So this is, again, glove. And then there is a hole up here, on the finger up here, and one in this finger up here, and then there's some tearing down here as well.
On the thumb area?
Yeah, that thumb area.
Thank you. You can resume your seat. And these were, if we were admitted, or we wouldn't have shown them. Thank you. So in front of you, I have a bag. If you could just look inside that bag, do you see your initials on that bag?
I do see my initials, yes.
And inside that bag, what item number is that for you from the GBI?
This bag?
Yes.
The bag is item number 2.
All right, and so in that bag, would that be the gloves that we saw in the photographs?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us what you did to the gloves that we saw in the photographs?
So the gloves in the photographs, I performed a blood examination. This involves essentially 2 chemical color change tests that are run simultaneously. One of them, a positive result, would be a bluish-greenish color change, and the other would be a pinkish color change. Both of those would need to be show a positive color change in order to be considered presumptively positive for blood and then sent on for DNA.
What were your results of those tests?
For each of the gloves, my results were that I got both showed a positive color change, so both were presumptively positive for blood.
And did those go on to DNA?
Yes, they did.
I want to ask you about a jacket, which is your item number 3. Did you conduct testing on item number 3?
Yes, I did.
What did you do to item number 3?
For item number 3, I also performed a chemical color change test, or the same chemical color change test. It was a blood examination on a visible stain on the jacket.
And when you say a visible stain, what did you see?
I saw a reddish-brown stain on the jacket, which is what I tested.
What kind of test did you do on that reddish-brown stain?
It was a blood exam, so it was the same 2 chemical color change tests as I performed on the gloves.
What were your results?
It was both tests showed positive color changes, so it was presumptively positive for blood.
And the blood on the jacket, did you do anything to the jacket once you realized there was blood on the jacket, or not once you realized, but once you tested it and your tests were positive?
Yes, I cut out the stained area and packaged it in its own package for it to be sent on for DNA.
So I'm going to approach with two items. The first is what has been marked State's Exhibit 147, but is your evidence number 3. So I want you to look at that, see if you recognize your initials on that, and you recognize that item.
Yes, I do.
And is that the jacket that you conducted the test on that you just told us about?
Yes, it is.
And I want to first go with the cutting then. And may I publish, it's already been admitted, may I publish 147, Your Honor?
Yes.
Can you show us on 147 where you did your cutting?
Yes, so I took a cutting from right here, which is the shoulder area.
So that would be the left shoulder area of the jacket?
Yes.
Where we see the white?
Yes.
Okay, that's your cutting.
Yes, it is.
State's Exhibit 176, what's that?
This is the envelope that I placed the cutting into, and that was then sent on for DNA.
And do you see your initials on that 176?
Yes, I do.
And your unique case number?
Yes, I do.
State to move to admit State's 176.
Any objection?
No objection.
176 is admitted.
So this might sound like a silly question, but when you tested the jacket for blood and your results were positive, does that mean there's blood on this jacket?
It means that there's likely blood on this jacket. My tests are presumptive, so I can't say with absolute certainty that it's blood.
And then it goes from where to from you?
Then it gets sent on for DNA testing.
And what did you observe about the stain that caused you to test it?
So blood has a distinctive reddish-brown staining. So when performing blood exams on large items like pieces of clothing, I look for reddish-brown stained areas, and those are the ones that I test.
And did you see reddish-brown stains on the jacket?
Yes, I did.
I want to ask you about a part of a tree. Did you test part of a tree?
Yes, I did.
What did you do to that part of the tree, and what is that item number for the GBI?
The item number for the GBI is item number 24, I believe. And I performed the 2 chemical color change tests that I had mentioned before for both the gloves and the jackets. I performed a blood exam.
What were your results?
Both tests gave positive color change results, so presumptively positive for blood.
And was that sent on to DNA?
Yes, it was.
2 rocks. What are the item numbers? Did you test 2 rocks?
Yes, I did.
What are your item numbers of those 2 rocks for the GBI?
For the GBI, the item numbers are number 22 and 23.
What did you do to those 2 rocks?
I performed a blood exam, so those same 2 chemical color change tests.
And what were your results? And did you do that for both rocks, for the record?
Yes, I did for both rocks.
Okay. What was your results for both of those rocks?
For both rocks, both tests gave positive color change results, so they were presumptively positive for blood.
And where did they go from there?
They were then sent on for DNA.
Finally, I want to ask you about a black Adidas hat Did you test a black Adidas hat for the presence of blood?
Yes, I did.
What is that item number for you at the GBI?
That would be item number 39.
And I want to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 151. Ask that you, first of all, do you recognize or see on States 151 your unique GBI case number?
Yes, I do.
And do you see the item number that you just told me was the hat?
Yes, I do.
And can you look inside of that item really quickly? It's open already. You don't have to do it quickly, but I just want you to look inside.
Yes.
And what do you see inside of States? What's my number inside? 151.
I see a black Adidas hat.
Okay, and is this the black Adidas hat that you did presumptive blood testing on?
Yes, it is.
State will move to admit 151 if I have not done so already. It's in.
It's in.
All right, thank you.
I'll look.
151. 159. I know. Okay. So 151 is in, so I'm going to publish with the court's permission. It's 150, which is. Great. That's already, that was a stipulation. 150 was admitted this morning. 150 was admitted this morning by stipulation, which is the sticker copy. So that 151, and now that we have all that settled, is in. I'm going to publish 151. Can you tell the court? I'm going to hand you 151 now. It's out of the bag. Where on that item did you test for the presence of blood?
So I tested for the presence of blood on each of these circled marks. So one on the brim here, and then I believe seven, I believe, on the hat itself, and then one on the bottom of the brim.
And what were your results?
So my results were that for this hat, one of these had a positive result, or presumptively positive result, which means that again the two chemical color change tests gave positive color changes.
Okay, and which one was it?
I believe it was this one down here, 9 on the bottom of the brim.
On the brim of the hat, on the inside.
On the inside, yes.
Where you circled it. And is that your circling?
Yes, that's my circling.
That's what you do when you're processing items.
Yes, it is.
And so when that tested positive for blood, what did you do with this?
It was then sent on, or I swabbed it, packaged the swabs, and then sent the swabs on for DNA.
Just like you had done for all the other items that had tested positive.
Yes.
Did you have the opportunity to test a white styrofoam cup and its top and a straw, and you'll have to tell me which of these items, for the presence of amylase?
I guess I did.
Okay, what is amylase, first of all?
Amylase is a component of saliva. It is the component that helps to digest carbohydrates.
Handing you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 141. You can look inside of there if you need to. You recognize 141.
Yes, I do.
And what is your GBI crime lab number or item number associated with that?
Item 64.
And what did you do to item 64?
So I tested the straw and I tested the rim of the cup for the presence of amylase and the presence of saliva. That's a different chemical color change exam, but it works much the same way. For this one, positive color change would be a blue color. And I tested, as I said, the rim of the cup and the straw separately.
And did you put your initials on them?
I put my initials on the bag. I did not put my initials on those myself. That's not mine.
So the rim and the rim of the cup, which is in my hand,
Yes.
and then the straw, which is also in my right hand.
Yes.
That's my right hand. What were your results of your amylase test for the cup and the straw?
So the cup was a negative result, or no color change, and the straw had a positive chemical color change, or a color change to blue, which means it's presumptively positive for amylase, saliva, and then was then sent on for DNA.
examine all of the clothing of Laken Riley for the presence of semen or seminal fluid?
Yes, I did.
How did you do that?
So at first, the first step is taking each article of clothing to the ALS or the alternate light source. This functions much like a black light, where stains that might not be visible to the human eye glow underneath the black light, underneath the ALS. And then for each of those stains that I saw, I then performed another chemical color change test for the presence of a component of seminal fluid. For this one, the positive color change would have been to a pinkish purple color.
What were your results of all of your tests for her clothing?
For all of the clothing, I found stains to test, but each stain was negative or no color change, except for one stain on the underwear, which had a weak positive result.
And so what were you able to do with that, if anything?
So with that weak positive result, what I then did was I moved it forward into the testing. I performed a microscopic exam, or essentially I took a small cutting of it and looked for the presence of sperm cells, and that was negative. So I then performed another test for the presence of seminal fluid. This one functions somewhat like a pregnancy exam, where during the testing, if you get 2 lines, it's positive, and 1 line, it's negative. For this, I got 1 line, so it was negative.
So in the end, does that mean there was no seminal fluid or semen present?
Yes, that's what that means.
On any of her clothing?
On any of the clothing.
May I have 1 moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Good afternoon, Ms. Ostapovich.
Good afternoon. Yes.
So I just, we've had a couple of the GBI people here, and I just kind of want to go through how the system works. When the GBI receives a piece of evidence, it sends them to people to be kind of presumptively tested. There's different levels of testing that go on. Is that right?
So the presumptive testing would be like a screening procedure, essentially.
A screening procedure, and that's kind of what you're doing in this case. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, there's limited resources. We can't test everything for everything. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And so it's your job to kind of figure out what needs to go on to the next person.
Yes, through my testing.
Okay. And so we call them presumptive tests because they're not definitive, but they're worth looking at further.
Yes.
Okay. And so when you looked at the gloves in this case, did you notice whether or not they were whether you could only wear them on one hand or the other? I'm going to say dexterous, but it's ambidextrous is the word that I'm looking for. I'm sure there's a better word for it.
No, I did not. As I said, they were quite torn up. There was a lot of holes in them, and as with a lot of gloves, including the ones I'm wearing right now, they can be put on either hand.
Okay. And so there's no part of your examination that would tell you which hand any of these gloves were being worn on?
No.
Okay. And you mentioned some holes that were, you said the biggest one, it sounded like, was between the thumb and the index finger. Is that right?
As far as I can recall, yes.
Okay. And there were also some holes on one of the thumbs. Is that right?
I believe, there was some tearing on one of the thumbs and then on some of the other fingers as well.
Okay, and some of the other fingers. Did you measure those at all?
No, I did not.
Okay. did you try to reconstruct where on the thumb those would be? I mean, were there pieces of plastic missing, for instance?
No, I wouldn't. I didn't do that. That's not part of of the testing that I performed, though.
Okay. And you don't know how the gloves were ripped, obviously.
No, I did not.
Okay. And I noticed that you're wearing gloves now. Is that to prevent DNA transfer, to prevent biological contamination?
It's to, at this point, it is, yes, to prevent biological contamination from me to anything or from anything to me.
Okay. And if you had holes in those gloves, obviously you would be worried about biological contamination, right?
Yes, I would.
Okay. On the cap that we looked at, do you know who that was taken off of?
No, I do
Do you know
not.
how it was collected?
No, I do not.
Okay. And you first look at these things visually. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so were you circling places that you had visually seen what you thought might be blood?
On the hat? do you
Yep.
mean? On the hat. So for that, I was circling ones that I visually saw blood, but then I took that one under the ALS as well, because there is a setting that can be used to look for blood, as blood does not fluoresce. So blood looks very dark under ALS.
Okay. And the area that you noted that was positive for blood was area number 9. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Well, when you say you believe so, how would you know? I mean, it's not in your report as to which one of these circles was presumptive for blood, was it?
No, but the way that blood testing works is that I perform test after test after test for each stain, and I continue on until there are no more stains left or until I find something that is positive. So the final circle there would be the one that was positive. And the one that I had circled that was under the brim there was labeled as number 9, and that was the highest number.
Okay. And then how did you when we saw in the jacket that you cut out a piece of that, was there any more processing in the hat that was done?
Well, the hat, because I took the presumptive positive result that I got was on the brim, which would not be feasible to cut. That I swabbed that and then sent the swabs on for DNA.
Okay. All right. You also performed the semen analysis, which is the last thing that you talked with Ms. Ross about. I just want to be clear about something. There were some presumptive tests, and again, we have layering of things to make sure we're right on this. There were some presumptively positive tests, but ultimately, there was no semen or seminal fluid found on any of the clothes that you were sent as part of coming off of Laken Riley.
Yes, so there was one stain that had one positive result, but overall, yes, there was no semen or seminal fluid on any of the clothing.
Okay. Had there been anything that was positive from your end of however many layers you have to go through, you would have sent that on for further testing, correct?
Yes, I would have.
Okay, and that would have been sent to be DNA tested, correct?
Yes, it would have.
Okay, that's all the question I have.
Were you correct?
No, sir.
Should be excused.
Yes, sir. May we approach quickly while she's
Yes.
exiting the courtroom?
You're excused.